A crying girl runs into the restaurant. When the black waitress hugs her, everyone goes silent. What if a little girl, soaking wet, barefoot, and crying, ran into a diner full of strangers? And the only one who moved was a woman who'd seen that kind of fear before. Lena Marshall, 38, moves through the diner with a kind of quiet efficiency that makes her invisible to most. Her dark skin glistens faintly under the fluorescent lights, her hair pulled back in a tight bun, her apron stained with ketchup and coffee from a long shift. She's been at Daisy's Diner for 12 years, serving meatloaf to truckers, pie to locals, and forced smiles to everyone. Her eyes, though, deep brown, kind, and a little tired, carry a story no one bothers to ask about. To the regulars, she's just Lena, the waitress who never forgets an order, who pours coffee before you ask, who keeps the world spinning behind the counter. But Lena's more than that. She's a survivor of a childhood that tried to break her. Born in Louisville, she was 3 when her mother left her at a fire station, a note pinned to her jacket. Can't keep her. Sorry. From there, it was a blur of foster homes, 11 by the time she was 18. Some were kind, most weren't. She learned early how to read a room, how to spot anger in a clenched jaw, how to make herself small to avoid a fist. Hunger was her constant companion, not just for food but for someone to see her, to care. She carried that loneliness into adulthood, a weight in her bones she never quite shook. At Daisy's, she's built a life. It's not glamorous, $2.50 an hour plus tips, but it's hers. She rents a small apartment above a laundromat, saves what she can, and keeps a worn copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God on her nightstand. She doesn't talk about her past, not with the cooks, not with the regulars, not even with Ruby, the other waitress who calls her sister but doesn't know the half of it. Lena's learned that silence is safer than stories. Today, the diner is half full. A couple in booth 6 bickers over a credit card bill. A teenager, Jamal, scrolls TikTok behind the counter, ignoring his busboy duties. 3 truckers at the bar counter shovel meatloaf, talking about road conditions. The rain outside is a steady roar, and Lena's halfway through pouring coffee for Mr. Hensley, a retired mechanic who comes every Tuesday, when the door slams open. The girl is small, no more than 9, her blonde hair plastered to her face by rain. She's barefoot, her feet muddy and red from the cold. Her t-shirt, too big and torn at the hem, clings to her shivering body. Her face is a mess of tears and snot, her blue eyes wide with terror. She doesn't just cry, she wails, a sound so raw it feels like it's tearing the air apart. The diner goes still. Forks hover over plates. The couple stops arguing. Jamal's phone slips from his hand. Lena doesn't think. The coffee pot hits the counter with a thud, hot liquid sloshing over the edge. She's across the room in seconds, her sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. She drops to her knees in front of the girl, her hands hovering but not touching, not yet. "Hey baby," she says, her voice low and steady, like she's coaxing a scared animal. "You're safe now." The girl's sobs don't stop, but her eyes lock onto Lena's. There's something in that gaze. Fear, yes, but also a desperate hope, like she's searching for something she's never found. Lena doesn't hesitate. She wraps her arms around the child, pulling her close, her apron soaking up the rain from the girl's clothes. The hug is fierce, protective, like Lena's shielding her from the world itself. The girl stiffens, then melts, her small hands clutching Lena's back like she's afraid to let go. The diner is silent. Mr. Hensley's coffee cup sits untouched. The truckers stare, their forks forgotten. The couple in booth 6 leans forward, their fight abandoned. Jamal, for once, isn't looking at his phone. A woman in the corner booth, mid-30s with a laptop and a latte, pulls out her phone and starts recording. Not to mock, not to judge, just to capture something that feels holy. The moment stretches, fragile and sacred, until the wail of sirens cuts through the rain. 2 police officers push through the door, their radios crackling. The taller one, Officer Daniels, a man with a graying mustache and tired eyes, scans the room. "We got a call about a runaway," he says, his voice clipped. "That her." Lena's still kneeling, the lil holding the girl. She stands slowly, keeping the child behind her. "She's not going anywhere," she says, her voice like steel. The room gasps. Lena's never raised her voice in the diner, never challenged anyone. But now, her eyes burn with something fierce, something unbreakable. The second officer, younger, steps forward. "Ma'am, we need to take her back. She's a foster kid. Ran off this morning." Lena gently turns the girl's arms, revealing a patchwork of bruises. Purple, yellow, some fresh, some fading. The diner collectively inhales. "I know those bruises," Lena says, her voice shaking but strong. "I had the same ones. You want to take her back to that? You better be ready to take me to jail too." The officers freeze. Daniels looks at the bruises, his jaw tightening. The younger officer shifts uncomfortably, glancing at the crowd. The woman with the phone is still recording, her hands trembling. The truckers mutter to each other, their faces dark with anger. The couple in booth 6 is crying now, the woman clutching her husband's hand. Daniels clears his throat. "We have to follow protocol, ma'am. The foster parents." "Protocol." Lena snaps, stepping forward. The girl clings to her leg, trembling. "Protocol is putting her back in a house where this happens?" She points to the bruises. "You look at her and tell me that's right." The room is a powder keg. The truckers stand, their chairs scraping. Mr. Hensley, his voice gravelly, says, "You heard the lady. She ain't going back." The crowd murmurs agreement, a low rumble of defiance. Daniels raises his hands, trying to calm the room. "We'll take her to the station, get this sorted out. Social services will." "No," Lena says, her voice a quiet thunder. "She stays with me until I know she's safe." The younger officer looks at Daniels, uncertain. The woman with the phone stops recording, her eyes wet. She uploads the video to X with a caption, "She hugged her like she'd hugged that girl 1,000 times before." By the next morning, the video is everywhere. It spreads across X, racking up millions of views. News stations pick it up, CNN, NBC, local channels in Kentucky. The clip of Lena's hug, her fierce stand against the police, her voice breaking with conviction, becomes a national sensation. Talk shows call, but Lena doesn't answer. She's at the hospital with the girl, whose name is Ellie, refusing to leave her side. Ellie's story comes out in pieces. Her foster parents, a couple in their 50s, claimed she was troubled. The bruises, they said, were from accidents. But medical records and Ellie's own testimony, whispered to Lena in the hospital, paint a different picture. Neglect. Yelling. Punches. A locked basement room. Lena listens, her heart breaking, her own memories flooding back. She doesn't cry, though. She stays strong for Ellie, who hasn't let go of her hand since the diner. Social Services investigates, spurred by public outcry. The foster parents are arrested. Lena, still in her diner apron, meets with a caseworker in the hospital hallway. "I want her," Lena says. "She's not going back to that system. Not like I did." The caseworker, a tired woman named Ms. Carter, sighs. "Ms. Marshall, you're not a licensed foster parent. There's a process." "Then start the process," Lena says, her voice unwavering. "I'm not letting her go." 2 days later, Lena's life is unrecognizable. Reporters camp outside the diner. Strangers send letters, donations, even flowers. A lawyer from Louisville, a black woman named Tanya Green, offers to represent Lena pro bono. "You're a hero," Tanya says. Lena shakes her head. "I'm just doing what's right." The twist comes during a court hearing a week later. Ellie's biological mother, a woman named Sarah, appears. She's young, barely 30, with hollow cheeks and nervous hands. She lost Ellie to the system after a drug addiction she's been fighting for years. Now clean, she wants her daughter back. The courtroom is packed, reporters, locals, even the truckers from the diner. Lena sits with Ellie, who's clutching a stuffed bear Lena bought her. Sarah's testimony is heartbreaking. She speaks of rehab, of rebuilding her life, of the guilt that haunts her. "I never stopped loving her," she says, tears streaming. The judge listens, his face unreadable. Lena's heart twists. She knows that pain, that loss. But she looks at Ellie's terrified face and knows she can't let go. The judge calls Lena to speak. She stands, her diner uniform replaced with a simple black dress Tanya lent her. "I don't know Sarah," she says, her voice steady. "I believe she loves Ellie. But I know what it's like to be that little girl, waiting for someone to fight for you. I've been waiting my whole life. Ellie don't have to wait no more. I'll fight for her. If Sarah's ready, I'll help her. But Ellie needs to be safe. She needs to be loved. And I can give her that." The courtroom is silent. Ellie runs to Lena, burying her face in her side. Sarah sobs quietly. The judge adjourns, promising a decision soon. The judge's ruling comes a month later. Ellie will stay with Lena, who's fast-tracked as a foster parent, while Sarah works toward reunification with supervised visits. It's not perfect, but it's fair. Lena promises Sarah, "We'll do this together." Sarah nods, tears in her eyes. Lena's Table, a foundation born from the viral video's donations, opens its doors in a small Louisville storefront. It's a safe haven for foster kids, runaways, throwaways, anyone who needs a meal, a bed, or someone to listen. Lena hires counselors, cooks, and a lawyer. The truckers volunteer as security. Ruby runs the kitchen. Jamal, inspired, enrolls in community college to study social work. Ellie starts school, her bruises fading, her smile growing. She calls Lena, Auntie, and Sarah, Mommy. The three of them eat dinner together every Sunday at the diner, where Lena still works one shift a week, pouring coffee and smiling at Mr. Hensley. 1 year later, Lena stands outside Lena's Table, watching kids play in the small yard. Ellie runs up, holding a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands. "It's us," she says, pointing to Lena, herself, and Sarah. Lena's eyes sting, but she smiles. The diner is busier now, a mix of locals and tourists drawn by the story. The woman who posted the video visits often, always ordering pie. "You changed the world," she tells Lena. Lena shakes her head. "I just hugged a kid. But the world did change." Lena's Table grows, opening branches in Lexington and Cincinnati. Lena testifies in D.C., her voice steady as she demands foster care reform. "Kids ain't invisible," she says. "They're ours to protect." The room applauds. That night, Lena sits on her apartment couch, Ellie asleep in her lap. Sarah's there too, sipping tea, her eyes softer now. The TV plays the viral video on a loop. Lena's hug, her stand, her voice. Lena doesn't watch. She looks at Ellie, then Sarah, and feels something new. Family. The rain outside is gentle now, a soft patter against the window. Lena closes her eyes, the weight in her bones a little lighter. She didn't just give Ellie shelter that day. She found it too.